meeting. My name is Councillor Mercy Ume, and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on Council's YouTube channel. If I lose connection and cannot reconnect, Councillor Paul Alexander will take over for me. I would like to remind all participants of a few housekeeping points. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking. Please keep your camera turned on when you speak at the hearing. Please note that the chat function has been disabled. If parties wish to add any additional information other than the allocated time to speak, they must raise their hand for raise their hand function so that they are not missed. I also ask members to keep their questions and comments to the brief, to the point. Item 1, apologies for absence. None was received. Item 2, declaration of interest. Do members have any declaration of interest?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Item
No,
3.
Chair.
Thank you. Item 3, the swimming pig, 61 Fulham Grove, London SW6 1QR. I would like to ask everyone participating to introduce yourself as I call on you. We will have with us Colette Brown, the applicant.
Yes.
Colette,
Hello.
is she here? Okay, thank you. Lona McKenna, licensing officer.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Gata, the council legal officer.
Present, Chair. Good evening.
Thank you. The objectors, we have Councillor Ben Coleman, who has not made any representation but registered to speak on behalf of the following 8 attending residents.
I made a representation, Chair, but it wasn't accepted in time.
Okay. Okay, but you are representing 8 residents tonight.
Yes, I'm very happy. If any of those residents is there, I only need to represent one resident and the other residents can then speak.
Okay.
Chair, if I may, the time limit for councillors is a guidance, not a legal threshold. So it's at your discretion that Councillor Coleman can speak.
I mean, can speak on behalf of other residents, or?
Yeah, they've given me their right to represent them.
Okay, can I ask the residents if they have given him the rights, like Harry Spencer? Has Harry and Lucy, Dominic, Leo, Bar, Lionel, Andre? Have all these people given their permission?
Chair, if I may,
yeah.
It needs one. A number of people have given me permission to represent them, but if I don't need everybody's permission, because if I'm representing 8 people, that means 8 people themselves can't speak. I only need one person, and Lucilla Royden has given me permission to represent her. Lorna McKenna, the licensing compliance officer, has acknowledged that, and Lucilla can't be here today. So I suggest I go as the representative of Lucilla, and then everybody else here doesn't have to worry about being deprived of the right to speak. They're still able to speak for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then we have Charlotte Dexter also speaking on behalf of Ross. Charlotte?
Yes, correct. Thank you, Chair. Good evening.
Okay. Good evening, thanks. We have Ada, Amanda, Graham.
Yes, hello.
Hello. And we have Catherine. Catherine?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Hello, thank you. Okay. Before we begin, I can confirm that in addition to the main agenda, 2 supplementary agenda containing additional information from the objector and applicant were published and circulated to all parties on 28th of April and today, 2nd May 2023. Before we consider the application today, please May I quickly explain the procedure the committee will follow? We will hear from the following. The licensing officer will introduce the application, the objectors who have registered to speak, finally, the applicant. Usually, each party will address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. Those speaking on behalf of others may get more time at my discretion. Following the presentation, all parties, the committee may ask questions to any party for other person representing at the hearing. No party will have the right to question other party at any time during the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case and representation. The committee will then retire for deliberation. Upon its return, I will announce the committee's decision. Please keep your remarks as concise as possible. Officer presenting, can I have Lorna to introduce the application, please?
Yes, Chair. Gerta's got a hand up. So
Okay.
Yes, I'm so sorry, Chair. Can I just clarify a couple of, just one thing before we go to the objectors to speak and Lorna to make a summary. So we had in our chairs, and apologies, Councillor Coleman, we were told that you were going to speak on behalf of 8 people which were attending. So we are, the chair has agreed for you to speak on behalf of one of them. But we have the following people listed, and maybe the chair can confirm and clarify, maybe they want to speak. We have Harry Spencer Smith. Would you like to speak for 5 minutes tonight, Mr. Spencer Smith? You are on mute, we can't hear you.
Yes, I did give that right over to Councillor Coleman. I've made all my points in my written objection. If nobody else wants to speak, I will speak for a short time, reiterating those. But I think perhaps those nearer the actual application site might be better to speak.
That's absolutely fine. It's just for the chair to have an understanding who is speaking tonight. And we have also Ms. Jepson. Yannick Jepson, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. I don't know whether she's here. Dominic Godfrey. Dominic, you are muted, so we can see you. Would you like to use your 5 minutes to speak today? You are on mute.
I can't really hear very well on the earphones, and that's why I gave my time to Councillor Coleman. I'm afraid I can't. It's very difficult to participate.
That's okay. And okay. Leo Liebster?
No, I'm happy to leave it to others. I've made my representations.
We also had listed to speak on behalf, Councillor Coleman to speak on behalf of Bahar Ghaffari. I saw her here early. I don't know whether she was.
Yes, I'm here. I'm also happy for Councillor Coleman to speak on my behalf. I made my full representation already in the paperwork.
I would say that if you want to speak now, and if you put something in the paperwork, it might be worth. I would just say anybody, if I may, who I would just reserve your right to speak, and you might choose to speak yourselves. I wouldn't give up your right at this moment. Just accept speaking for Lucilla and the rest of you. I would take your right to speak if you so wish.
It would be nice for the chair to have an idea of how many people are speaking and to allow you 5 minutes. So if you would like to speak and you were listed as Councillor Coleman speaking on your behalf, raise your hand.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to.
I'm also happy to speak.
Okay. So the chair knows. If the chair doesn't mention your name, please raise your hand, because we were of the understanding that 8 people were not going to speak tonight, but Councillor Coleman was going to speak on your behalf. So raise your hand and the chair will give you your 5 minutes to make your representations.
Can I just check? You've mentioned me. Can I speak? Charles McTaggart?
Yes, we have your name. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I'm so sorry about this. So please continue.
I think we have Catherine not Charlie. I didn't see Charlie here.
No, Charlie is the
I'm here. I'm
president. Charlie is after Catherine. We said genuine update, Chair Knox. Chair. Yeah, please.
Hi, I'm just here. I want to just let you know that I had yielded my time to Charlotte Dexter to speak on my behalf, and I'm happy to represent me. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So,
I'm Andrew Collins, and I would only like to speak in the unlikely event of others not having made a strong enough point against this appalling application. Bye.
You stop. What's happening there?
Oh gosh.
okay.
Yeah, I'm on a Zoom call. Can I call you back?
Yeah. I'm going to let the licensing officer to speak. Then people can raise. Ada, you raised your hand.
Yes, I would also like to speak. If no one mentions my points, then I would like to have a minute of your time. Thank you.
Okay. So all of you are getting 5 minutes. So if you raise your hand, then I know who is speaking. Amanda, you are speaking as well?
Yes, I have a completely different case. I'm not in Walham Grove, where I think the majority of other people. So I think I will see things from a different point of view. And I think I'd like to speak, please.
Okay, that's fine. If you put your hands up, then that will make it easier for me, because the names, some of them have been gathered that 8 people are going to be, the councillor is going to be, Councillor Ben Coleman is going to speak on your behalf, some kind of, but if you put your hand up, then I'll call you. So we have the licensing officer to introduce the case.
Thank you, Chair. On the 16th of January 2023, Miss Colette Brown, the applicant, submitted an application for a new premises licence to be granted in respect of the premises known as the Swimming Pig 61 Walham Grove, London, SW6 1QR. The application as applied was for a new premises licence for the sale of alcohol both on and off the premises, with a focus on specialty craft beer. The licensable activities that were sought were for the sale of alcohol on the premises Monday to Saturdays from 12 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. and Sundays from 12 p.m. till 10 p.m. The sale of alcohol off the premises Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. and Sundays 12 p.m. until 10:30 p.m. with the proposed opening hours of the premises being from Monday to Saturdays 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. and Sundays 10 a.m. till 10:30 p.m. The applicant within the application proposed a number of additional steps to promote the 4 licensing objectives if the application is to be granted. On the 30th of January 2023, following correspondence received from the police, the applicant also agreed to an additional further 10 conditions to be added on the licence should it be minded to be granted. On the 7th of February 2023, following correspondence from the health and safety officers, the applicant agreed to add a further condition to the licence should it be minded to be granted. And then further to this, on the 21st of February 2023, following correspondence from the noise and nuisance team, the applicant agreed to add a further 5 additional conditions to the licence should it be minded to be granted. The licensing section during the consultation period received 34 representations from local residents objecting to the licensing application. There was no representations received from any of the responsible authorities. A public notice was displayed at the premises for 28 days, and the application was advertised in a local circular, and all statutory consultees were notified in alignment with the regulation. Further to the application, there has been 2 further supplementary agendas circulated, one on the 28th of April 2023 with further evidence in support of their objections from residents, and a second supplementary agenda circulated on the 2nd of May 2023, which was further support for her application from the applicant. All supplementary agenda has been circulated to all parties. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to ask Councillor Ben Coleman to speak. Are you speaking on how many people? On 2 persons?
No, I was. With respect, Chair, I wasn't expected to speak first. I'd rather the residents spoke first, and then I'll come in if that's okay with you.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. May I have Harry to speak first? Harry Spencer Smith? Harry? Okay.
Please.
You're on mute, Harry.
I know, yeah, I'm unmuted. Yes, thank you very much. Well, as a resident of 43 years in Walham Grove, I've seen change, things come and go. But one of the things that seems to have increased is the amount of establishments selling alcohol in the local area, in terms of off licenses and licensed premises. But my objection really came under about 6 headings. I mean, the first thing for residents there, there's definitely going to be an increase in noise, and I think particularly in the summer months, tremendous temptation for whatever the licensee says for people to purchase and then drink outside on the pavement, to congregate there. I think that's exacerbated by the fact that you could, in effect, easily have a kind of open air restaurant out there when you've got 2 fast food establishments very close by. I think there's a further factor we should consider, that a lot of delivery bikes are waiting there for their calls to go out. And I think the temptation to actually have a beer or something while you're waiting is quite high, and that increases traffic safety problems. I think we're living in a fool's paradise if we think there won't be an increase in litter, the cans and bottles, the people consuming them. We've noticed that very often people from fast food sit in their cars outside where they consume, and then things are just dropped out of their window and they drive off. Other residents will speak to the urination problem, which happens on match days, but clearly having another drinking establishment so close is going to exacerbate that. And none of us, I think, can understand the need for this when there are so many other establishments within 3 minutes walk. And in terms of off license, you've got the Hair of the Dog just up North End Road. You've got Waitrose that you can buy things from, and you've got pubs at either end of the street. So we just don't feel it's appropriate to have this in a residential street.
Okay.
Thank you, Mercy.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Harry. I have Genix to speak, or is someone speaking on her behalf? Okay, can I have Dominic to speak?
Hi, I gave my time to someone else, to the counselor.
Okay.
I believe in my email.
Okay, who is speaking on your behalf then, please?
Sorry guys, just let me find the name.
Councillor Coleman is speaking on her behalf.
I was going to say,
thank
I keep coming back to this. Forgive me.
Okay.
I keep coming back.
Okay.
Mercy, if I may, Chair, I keep coming back to this.
Okay.
Only one person needs to give me the right to speak.
Okay. All right.
I've got that from someone who's not here. So, Ms. Jebson, if you want to speak, I don't have to represent you. I'm representing someone else.
Okay.
Okay. I think I echo the sentiments from others. Strongly opposed. For the antisocial reasons, for the potential, obviously, negatives it will bring to the neighborhood of noise, abuse, potential crime, and waste and trash and so on. Only actually earlier last week, after a football match, there was at 2 a.m. the corner of the street was super noisy with lots of music and loud people. Impossible to sleep. You have a child or children around. It's very, very difficult, and potentially feels you're going to foster that kind of thing, very negative. So yeah, just very against.
Okay. Thank you very much. May I have Lucia to speak?
Is represented by Councillor Coleman.
Okay. Okay, then we have Dominic. If Dominic is not there, can we have Leo?
No, I've already said that I've made my representations. I want to hear what's being said, and I gave my 5 minutes to Councillor Coleman this morning and yesterday.
Okay. All right. We have Bar.
Yes, hi.
Okay.
So I echo a lot of what's been said already. I'm not a resident of 43 years. I'm a resident of only 1 year, but I have lived in London for 49 years. I don't think I've ever lived in a street where I have a pub at either end, and I have so many drinking establishments within such a short walk from me. So I absolutely don't see the necessity to create any further disruption to what is a beautiful residential street that I chose to live in when we moved in a year ago, with any further drinking establishments. I'm also a mother of 2 young teenagers. I already have concerns about my young teenage daughter walking past a couple of the establishments at the top of the road. I really don't feel comfortable about another one opening that's a drinking establishment. I echo a lot of the issues that we've already had to deal with regards to litter and peeing. I think some points were made in one of the representations about the cost of the beer being high enough to attract a different type of drinking and not a rowdy drinking. I'd like to point out we are in the middle of Fulham. We are next to Chelsea Stadium, where prices are generally high, and I don't think buying beer a couple of pounds less or more expensive will alleviate the issue at all. So I do feel strongly that we are going to end up with groups of people, and because the establishment is small, a lot of those people filtering out onto the pavement and drinking and just exacerbating what's already a difficult situation. We have enough issues with traffic on the road as well. This is just going to increase footfall, whether it's pedestrian or by car. Most of us have experienced damage to our cars, myself included, damage to 2 of my cars because of the congestion and the standoffs and the road rage. And I just think all of this will be made considerably worse with having another drinking establishment. So these issues are now fueled by more alcohol. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, can I have Andre to speak? Colin.
Yes, my points will very much endorse all the other points. There are quite enough public houses and other drinking establishments in the area. There is also one vacant public house to rent just off North End Road in Haldane Road. If they want to start a pub, they could quite easily go there. I'm sure the landlord will be happy to have them. The premises in Walham Grove are small, wholly unsuitable to what they intend doing there. There's not drinking space inside, and we don't need another off license in the road. We are in a conservation area here, and it is the council's duty to protect that. And none of the residents of this street or anyone around wants it. It's a wholly inappropriate idea. I cannot think how it was conceived. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. May I have Charlotte Dexter to speak, and Ross? She's speaking on behalf of Ross as well.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Okay, first of all, I just would like to call your attention to the supplemental agenda of Friday. That's the 29-page one. On page 18, I made a small mistake, so I want to put that up front. I said that the Wolfpack pub, which is also a craft beer premium pub that gets lots of business and lots of publicity, was 100 feet or so from this proposed establishment. And it's more, I got my kilometers and my miles mixed up, excuse me. So it's more like 300 feet, but it's literally, when you look at Google Maps, it's literally, around the corner. And on North End Road standing, you can see the proposed premises at 61A, and you can see the Wolfpack. So it's within very much vision distance. So I just wanted to make that clear, because we sent in an article on page 24 and 25 of the supplemental agenda regarding problems at the Wolfpack and someone who was brought to court and so on and so forth, which you've read. The second thing is, I want to point out that I believe there's a mistake on the plan that was submitted in the agenda pack. So the original agenda pack, the long pack on page 18, the plan shows number 61, and to the right, it says number 62. That's incorrect. This building is actually an original workshop, historically speaking, that supported the North End Road, which is very interesting, looking at the regeneration that is going on with the North End Road. So it's not number 62. The Caribbean restaurant where the guy was shot to death, that's number 62. So what's happened here is that these workshops have turned into sort of 61A-ish, not official, and 61B. So the premises that we're talking about, the potential premises, is 61A. So the designers, the architects got it wrong. Next door is not 62. 62 is JKB restaurant. And that's important as we talk about these things, because, there's potential for someone to move into that next door or whatever. So we need to think about those things. You can see a photo of that on page 8 of the supplemental agenda, where there's a photo that shows the potential premises, which is up for rental or sale or whatever it is, and then 61B, and then the wellness place, which is now no longer, and then the JKB Caribbean thing. So just that we have that frontage clear, because it's been brought up by several people, and it's been brought up by the DeGaugan house behind, which has many, many flats in it, which was a big effort 15 years ago or so of the council to put in more housing that people could afford and so on. And they've written in twice in the representations. Okay, I wanted to now point out, we had a discussion amongst the residents about these premium beers, craft beers, and so on. And that on page 18 of the supplemental agenda, I made the point that the police have suggested to the applicant, and the applicant has accepted this condition number 6. But condition number 6 is about no beer over 5.5%, with the exception of craft beer and premium beers. So I'm going to be really honest, I'm very confused. How can we have an exception to a condition, and the applicant is talking about craft beers and premium beers, which, by the way, are also sold down the road at a much larger facility, which was the Jolly Maltster, which is now the Wolfpack. So I'm confused about that, and I put that out there, and I'm sure that the subcommittee will ask questions that they need to ask to clarify this, because it doesn't seem to me that there should be an exception to the rule, especially if the person applying is trying to only focus on good tasting craft and premium small microbrewery type beers and so on. So that's a confusing point for several of us. And I hope that it will be cleared up this evening. Continuing on, so on page 18 of my of the supplemental agenda, I did talk about signage, and I just would like to remind the subcommittee that in July, and again recently at another hearing, it was made clear in the decision letter that, as well meant as they are, these signs are not legal. They can't be, no one can be prosecuted for them or lack of compliance with them. So signs prominently displayed, asking people nicely to do things, or even premises license holders asking drivers to be quiet and considerate and so on. It was made clear in a decision letter that these notices are a nice idea, but they can't really be followed, and there's no legal basis for them. So we are bringing that now, I guess, for the third time in a new hearing, but it's an important point around here for Fulham Broadway, for what used to be a cumulative impact zone, for the regeneration of North End Road and so on, that we remember that signs just, they're not enough to do anything. I also, so my point 3 on page 19 of the supplemental agenda, put in on Friday, the 29-page supplemental agenda. I made the point, or the assertion, if I may, that the applicant made no attempt to contact residents, and I made 4 attempts to contact the applicant and heard from the applicant, right at the end of the story last week, where all she said was, "Oh, you're concerned about off license, and don't worry, I'll be dealing with that, and I'm going to do everything that the committee tells me to do." That's very nice. That's good. That's good to hear. But today we did get a final supplemental agenda from her, which was, of course, very last minute, and one can contest that and all that. But, we're not going to contest that as residents. But I would like to say that she points out on page 4 of her her comments in the table that she was totally surprised about the fact that Chelsea Football Ground and Chelsea football fans and everything would have any kind of impact on this small little place that's proposed to become a drinking establishment. And I'd like to, unfortunately, we have to point out to the committee, well, isn't that interesting? So this is someone who wants to be part of the community, but didn't contact the community and wasn't even aware of Chelsea football fans and everything else. So, to me, that means she's never come down here at night on a game night. She's never come down on a Saturday or a Wednesday or a Tuesday at 5, 6, 7 o'clock. She doesn't know the area. She doesn't know really what her game plan is. And in addition to that, there are actually people on Walham Grove who they like craft beer, but just she never having met up with them. And they're an organized residents association, and we're an organized residents association around the corner. And the licensing authority knows all of us. So she never asked the licensing authority for any tips, who could I contact? And I'd like to explain my ideas to people. And, they're going to be my first neighbors and my first customers. So I want to be in contact with them now so things get moving in the right direction. Anyway, she didn't do that. The other thing that she didn't do, unfortunately, in her supplemental agenda that was published late this afternoon, middle of the afternoon, is she didn't address things that we've addressed, which is, for instance, we've said the outside of this small shop is going to become a congregating area. People are inevitably going to walk out with beers in the hot weather and so on. And we're going to start having a party on the pavement. And the party on the pavement will go left and right and center. And as Andrew pointed out, we're going to start having food and all that kind, it's just going to be a picnic ground, basically. She doesn't address, unfortunately, the smoking issue that we've brought up. So every establishment has to have a smoking area. The plan doesn't show what's in the back. I'm sorry, I didn't. Well, it's for rent. I couldn't get to the back, so I personally don't know what's in the back. But assuming it's the frontage that she'd have to use, she has to provide a smoking area. So usually it's 5 to 10% of people. She says 25 seats. It could be more if she pulls out a few seats, especially in the summer. You know, pull seats out, more people inside, they move outside, then people want to smoke, then people want to talk to their friends who smoke. That's all right. All of that can be dealt with by conditions. We know that. But the conditions, are difficult to enforce, but they can be put on paper. But we don't understand really what she has planned here. And it's very important that she actually explain that, at least to residents. And we're concerned about this whole idea of the drinks being brought outside, and I don't see how she's going to stop that. So my basic question probably is, it's not a question, excuse me. The committee might want to ascertain what percentage of sales will be on premises, what percentage will be for off premises. She showed 2 refrigerators on her plan. I don't know where all the other beer will be stored, bottles of beer, and what percentage will be deliveries, because delivery is a big issue in this area of Fulham. We have lots of delivery economy issues. Need I say more? So those are basically my points. And I thank the committee for listening. And I also thank the committee for taking time to read and look.
You have to stop now. Thank you very much. Thank you. Can I have Amanda? Okay.
Yes, hi.
I think you have spoken before, because Charlotte spoke on your behalf, I think.
No, Amanda Fredman, nobody's spoken on my behalf, no.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Well, actually, Charlotte made a lot of very good points there. Although I lived in Walham Grove for 20 years, I'm not going to talk about, because everybody has covered the noise and the nuisance and the problems that having an establishment like this will be on Walham Grove. What I would like to do is to draw everybody's attention to the rear of the property. I speak on behalf of the residents, 42 apartments here at Dungannon House. We're an 8-story block that overlook the rear of the Swimming Pig. I suppose the block is 8 stories, and about half of the flats here overlook that side. So that includes something like 20 odd terraces and balconies. It includes 32 bedrooms that directly overlook this establishment, 23 living rooms. We're a mixed bunch here, elderly, babies, affordable housing, the whole kit and caboodle. We do know what we're talking about because we actually have first-hand experience of living next to a pub, as Charlotte was mentioning, the Wolf Pack. So the half that overlook the Swimming Pig don't get the Wolf Pack, but the other half do. And I have to say that the noise and the nuisance from them invades the daily life of all the residents over that side. Decisions have to be made about, it's a warm night, let's open the door to the balcony. Oh no, we won't hear the television. Let's put the kids to bed. Shall we open the window, or will they ever get to sleep if we have the noise, etc. So we know what it's like living next door to a pub. Fair dues, they all knew what they were moving into and buying because the Wolf Pack was there and they had a license, so that's fine, fair dues. But the Swimming Pig is another matter. And I do want the residents over that side of the building to suffer the fate that the others are having. I realise from Ms. Brown's application that, and particularly what she sent through today, that she has got no desire, needs, whatever, plans to use outside space. I don't quite agree with Charlotte. I don't know what she's going to do with the smokers, maybe give them patches or something. I know she's going to serve only cold food, but my point is that things change over time. We are strongly against this application going forward, a bit like, I think it was Harry early on said that there isn't any necessity, and Andrew was saying, you know, there's a place around the corner. There are numerous unlet licensed establishments in the vicinity, and it shouldn't be down to changing a small community, small shop like this. So I want to get out there. We are strongly against this application. However, if it went through, I would respectfully ask the committee to look at implementing the following conditions. Primarily because we don't know if Ms. Brown's plans change, or indeed, if the business fails, will she sell the lease on? And we then don't know who's taking over the premises or what they plan to do. So the conditions as follows: deliveries, particularly barrels and bottles, to be reasonable times of the day to be agreed by us, so that it doesn't cause noise and nuisance to the neighbours front and back. Rubbish collections to be done at reasonable times of the day to be agreed again by us, so it doesn't cause noise and nuisance front and back. No outside areas, front or back of the property, to be used after 8 p.m, including moving of barrels or bottles, emptying bottles into bins, again to reduce the noise and nuisance to neighbours. All lights in the back garden, yard, balconies, terraces, whatever, to be out by 8 p.m. to avoid disturbing neighbours. No noise or vibrations associated with the operation of any plant at the premises to escape the building to cause noise that would cause noise or nuisance to the neighbours. And no smells from cooking or beer taps or other sources to escape causing noise and nuisance. I have to say that the Jerk restaurant next door at 61, 62, I don't know, causes us huge problems. The stench of chicken is awful. That's how close we are.
Okay, I think your time is up as well. I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you. I have Rose.
I think I have actually got a very important thing to say. And
you can sum up at 3 minutes. I'm sorry, you have to sum it up.
Right of
we have 3
license
minutes.
Should be reviewed.
No, you have to sum up at 3
years.
minutes. I'm sorry, you have to sum up at 3 minutes. Okay. Sorry. Rose, why your hand up?
I'm very grateful to Charlotte for representing me, but I just want to add one more.
I'm sorry, I've given Charlotte your time. No, you can't. You at 3 minutes, you can sum up. I've given Charlotte your time, which is 5 minutes, and she had 5 minutes. That's 10 minutes.
Taking back some of the time.
I cannot allow that. I can't.
The resident.
So yeah, can I have Ada to speak?
Sorry, am I allowed to speak or not?
No, no, because your time has been taken by Charlotte. I'm sorry. No.
Is it me now, Chair?
Ada, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I would like to refer the committee to Section 8 of the adopted Hammersmith and Fulham local plan, which is available on the borough's website under planning policy and local plans. Subsections 8.4, 7, 8 and 15 of the plan clearly state that the Hammersmith and Fulham Council would seek to preserve and retain the predominance of shopping over other uses. Therefore, although this discussion concerns a licensing application, we ask the committee to keep this premises as a retail shop and not change its license to a public house.
Okay, Ada, Ada, can I tell you that we are dealing with license, we are not dealing with planning. So we can't help with planning, but we can help with licensing.
But it's part of the policy, your license policy. I'll talk when I have my chance.
Yeah, when you have your chance, please. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
Ada, you can continue, but not on planning. Okay. Sorry.
No, I finished. This is very much related to what we're speaking of today.
No, but we don't deal on planning. We have
I
to
understand. I understand.
Yeah.
I finished, and this is much related to the subject. Thank you very much.
But I believe, sorry, can I just
I'm
say,
sorry, you cannot speak. I have other people to speak. I've given you your 5 minutes. Everyone gets 5 minutes.
Isn't he allowed to yield the remainder of his time to Roz?
No, Roz has already, I think Charlotte spoke on her behalf. Charlotte, did you speak on her behalf today? She did. I was giving the notes that.
Yes, but others should be able to.
No, you have spoken on her
time
behalf.
that's
You have taken
left.
her 5 minutes. I can't.
Okay, we have to deal
No,
with this.
you have, maybe she will sum up. I cannot allow that.
Okay, that's a good compromise. Thank you very much. We appreciate that very much,
Yeah.
Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Can we have Graham? Or Catherine?
Yes, hi, I'm here. Thank you, Chair. First, I'd like to thank Lorna for her organisation. What a nightmare we are. Also, I'd like to say hello, Colette. I want to acknowledge you. Hello. I have drunk an awful lot of craft beer in my time, and so I like to think I know a little bit about it. But my initial concerns are, we touched on it earlier on, I have a young daughter as well, and there are already issues at that end of the street, Papa John's and Jerk Chicken and the delivery drivers who sit outside. My daughter is 27, so she's big enough and old enough to look after herself, but I don't think the safety of women can be underestimated. When they walk past at night, my daughter works late, she works in a media company, and when she walks past at night, she will often get comments, she gets leered at. I won't repeat the sort of things they suggest that she does to them, but I'm sure you can use your imaginations. And I think that we can't, I mean, especially with all in the news, you can't underestimate the safety of women and how unsafe they feel. The addition of alcohol is not going to help this issue at all. Colette, I didn't get a chance to read all of your agenda today because it came quite late and I didn't get a chance to read all of it. But I noticed you said you're going to put CCTV cameras up to capture anything goes on. In the other agenda, you'll notice that there's a section on crime statistics, and there's crime reference numbers, which I'm sure you can look up. It's on page 10 of the agenda, where fights have broken out outside of Papa John's and outside of Jerk, JFK, whatever it's known now. And these fights were captured on CCTV, and the police were called but took no action. So I'm afraid to say that the introduction of CCTV doesn't actually mean that anything will happen or any action will be taken. The other issue I'd like to bring up is that particular area of the street is already known as a high drug trafficking area, and there have been a number of arrests, a number of stop and searches for drug-related crimes. Yet again, unfortunately, intent to possession, intent to supply, no arrests were made. I think our police are just too stretched to take action. But unfortunately, what happens is what starts with a bit of cannabis dealing, then advances, and when suddenly you get what we have now, where we have nitrous oxide bottles scattered over the street. We have outside number one. There's open drug dealing going on, and this is a huge concern. We're a residential street, so what you have is I'm sure the councillors know this, is you have two big drug gangs operating, one south of the King's Road and one north of the King's Road, and they sort out their differences on the North End Road. Hence the murder recently, a couple of years back. So this is already a big concern for us. And I think that the public nuisance factor can't be underestimated. And if you're a young girl and you're walking back from work, there's nowhere for the smokers to go but on the very narrow pavement that's there. So as a young woman, you have to make a choice. Do you cross the road? Do you walk in the road to avoid being close to people who are going to make lewd suggestions at you? And this is just not acceptable at all. I also like to touch on the fact that, I mean, I love a craft beer. I'm not going to lie. I love a craft beer. And the Wolfpack, which is a 1-minute walk around the corner, sells 15 different types of craft beer. Or if you want, you can go to the Cock pub just over the road that also sells craft beers. Or you can walk down the other end of the road to the Harwood Arms, which also serves craft beers. I do think that the premises that this is being considered for is just too small. It's too small to operate as a drinking establishment because you will get overspill. And Colette, I don't know if you've been around the area on a match day. It's pretty grim, and people don't, until you've had someone peeing in your garden, and when you have words with them, they start swearing at you and abusing you. You haven't lived, quite honestly. So that's a very big concern for us. This public nuisance, crowding, safety issues. I think all of this, it's just makes this very tiny venue, which used to be a newsagent's, highly unsuitable for an establishment to sell and serve alcohol.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And can I have Shirley?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So yeah, basically stating I've been on the street for some time, for quite a long time, 2004, 2005, I think. And I've seen the street change quite a lot. And for example, that premises, the Swimming Pig, was a newsagent, and then next to it was Jerk Chicken, but it wasn't Jerk Chicken, it was a Kodak shop. And this parade of shops were never designed. They were corner shops for the small community that we need to have. And I think a lot of people have missed the point, and we need to think about, the community. And I know you say there's no relevance for planning here, but actually in your document, London Borough, Hammersmith and Fulham Statement of Licence Policy 2020 to 2027, in policy 13, alignment with planning, and it reads here, despite licensing and planning have been under different legislations, the licensing authority will ensure that the licensing regime is in line with the planning regime, Hammersmith and Fulham. And then in regards Unity of Development Plan 8.29, it also refers to this. And my view is that you can't have one without the other. We've had a planning application in, then we all 30 plus people said we don't want it. Then we got a licensing application in, and we do not know where we stand. It's all over the shop. You haven't followed the guidance. You go, I don't know what's happening with the planning application for the change of use, but you need a change of use, material change of use for a pub or a tap room or whatever it wants to be called. But I do think that that's a crucial part. The point is we do suffer from noise at the top end of the street, smells. The traffic is absolutely on match days and on normal days. We've had on rush hour real problems, and that's why there's an issue with regards planning. I mean, with regards to the one-way system we're trying to propose. So there's a lot of other issues that have not been addressed, and that we're just thinking about license. So you've got to understand that it's in the whole a very emotive point, because there's 34 of us on the street that have actually, or more, have both submitted objections for both the planning and the license. So there's a lot of issues here. If it was a decent, if it was a normal, an artisan art shop or bookshop, the policy that the local authority would like to see, that's what we should get, because that's in line with the street. And we as a residents are suffering a lot from this. And I mean, it's amazing that Mr. Coltman is involved with us, because I think he's done a great job. I mean, you know, without him and without his leadership, it's been quite something. So I just wanted to thank Mr. Coltman for his effort and his time, taking the time out. But the bottom line here is that with regards to the shop premises, you know, where is the loos? How many loos are you going to have? You know, I don't know. I couldn't see the planning applications for this.
Ali, I think your time is up already. May
Okay.
I have Catherine? Catherine, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. And again, hello, Colette. And you know, I'm sorry that you've come up against us, but as you can tell, you know, we've been suffering from a lot of different problems, which everyone has outlined. As Charlie said, I mean, my understanding reading the Unitary Development Plan point 8.29 is that planning permission needs to be in place before a license can be granted. That's how it reads. So, you know, I'm sort of a bit baffled that we're having the licensing call before the planning call. But as numerous people have outlined, you know, we already have so many places either selling alcohol or pubs or bars in the area. We have at least 9 within a 500-meter radius. And the local authority, my understanding is that the idea is to have a balance and to meet the needs of the community. And we clearly don't have a balance. We've got too many pubs and bars, too many places selling alcohol, and we need to have just regular shops that meet the needs of the community. For example, we have no chemist near here. You know, the local Boots closed down, so you know that it's further to go for a chemist, for example. I think that I really. I second the point that everyone else has made about the fact that, unfortunately, when people drink, especially in the hotter weather, they'll want to go outside. There's very little room on that pavement because there are so many delivery drivers, and that end of the street gets very congested. My daughter's also, she's 20 years old. She's had the same experience as Graham's daughter. She worked around the corner, and just walking back through that area, there's usually for some reason quite a few men standing on the pavement making remarks. It's very unpleasant, and she would have, if she had known about this call, she would have been on it, and she has put her name down to be on the planning call. So you know, these are problems alongside everything else that everyone else has suggested. You know, the delivery vans that have to bring supplies to the premises when needed. It just adds to the terrible congestion that we have on this street. We've had so many people's vehicles almost on a daily basis. We have someone saying that their vehicle has been banged into, and you know, it's just getting to the stage where people won't want to live here because it's too much. So I really don't think that this is the location for you know, for a drinking venue. We really don't need another one in this area. And I think that the local authority, I would really ask you to consider to have more of a balance and to have different types of shops that do meet the needs of the local community, rather than just giving licenses to anyone that asks for it. And if I have any more time to yield to anyone else, I would like to give it to Roz, please.
You haven't. Please, before we continue, may I have Adrian, one of our officers, to explain the difference between licensing and planning, because a lot of residents have mentioned about planning and planning. So Adrian, please, could you help us out here?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, happy to do so. So planning and licensing are separate regimes, a separate legislation that covers both areas. So potentially you could grant a license this evening that is contrary to planning permission and wouldn't be of any use to the applicant. And then the applicant would then need to go and get that planning permission, but they should be treated separately. I understand that's, you know, unusual. It's frustrating for residents, but that's just the way that the two separate pieces of legislation are set out. It does say in our planning permission that they should be licensing and planning regime should be in line as far as possible. So that's in relation to, you know, the policy aspects of trying to encourage certain types of businesses, trying to encourage regeneration in certain areas. but it is clear to say that they are separate regimes. So I hope that helps anyway.
Thank you. It does help.
No problem.
Thank you. Sorry, Graham, I think you have spoken already.
I just wanted clarification on what Adrian was saying, because my understanding was that Charlie said that licensing can't be granted without planning first. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. No, so a license could be granted this evening that didn't have planning permission, only to sort of prevent a chicken and egg situation. What do you get first? So, but it could be a situation that a license is granted, but the applicant couldn't use that premises because it would be unlawful and it wouldn't have the right planning permission. So they then have to wait until they got the right planning permission before they could operate in the way that they wanted to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. We have Lucia, and I think Councillor Ben Coleman will be speaking on her behalf, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. All right, thank you very much.
You have 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes. Thank you.
I hope I don't take quite so long, but thank you very much. You know, I think this is an interesting application. I've had everything that everybody has said. As Anna Colette, I've seen you listening carefully to it all. I think the main argument, I mean, trying to add something a little bit different to what's been said. I think the main argument for this application is that this place is different. I think that Colette, you talked about wanting to have this as an alternative to the traditional pub, somewhere that you'd feel safe drinking in. And that's a wholly worthy ambition. And craft beer is, I'm also someone who enjoys craft beer, and probably a lot of people on this call are. But I think that the main argument, this is different. This is a tap room, not a pub. It will attract different sorts of people, and it won't cause the problems that have been outlined here. Is optimistic. It's optimistic. I was in a craft beer place yesterday in Hackney Wick, and Hackney Wick is not Fulham Broadway, Fulham, this part of Fulham. It was a large place. It had large premises. If you go on to looking at tap rooms across London, as I've been looking at online, they're large premises with lots of tables and lots of food opportunities for people to eat. Not a very small venue like this. And the reference has been made to Haldane Road, and I must just beg of you, please do not encourage somebody to open another pub in Haldane Road. For many years in Haldane Road, there was a relatively quiet pub because nobody went there, and then it went under. And then the new owners came in with ambitions to have a more upmarket pub, it would attract a different sort of clientele. It would offer different sorts of beers. And it was a nightmare. Day after day, at closing time, people would congregate outside, the Ubers would arrive, the noise would be horrific, the people's gardens were full of beer, glasses. I appreciate, Colette, yours would be plastic beer glasses. We hope that would be the case. But in the end, for all sorts of reasons, I was moving. The residents were having such a horrible time because it just wasn't appropriate to have that pub there in a residential road, despite the best ambitions of the owner, who wanted to try to create something different and upmarket. And somebody I know well said, you've got to go there. The beer's so good. They've got craft beer and it's really excellent. So I think having upmarket ambitions doesn't guarantee, and different ambitions and more intellectual ambitions in the whole beer world, doesn't guarantee that all the problems that residents have raised won't happen. It is a conservation area with small children, and wanting to be different doesn't take away from that. There is already a pub at the end of the road and 3 more in the vicinity, and 3 of those pubs sell craft beers already. There is a lack of outdoor space, which means that people, whether they leave or if they drink outside or if they smoke, and I'm sure that will be clarified, would cause noise and disturbance. And wanting to be different and having a different type of clientele doesn't take that away. People would come from further afield. It might attract more cars. This road has problems with cars already. Being different wouldn't change that. It would have CCTV, but CCTV doesn't stop people misbehaving when they're drunk. It just enables you, if you know the time at which the problem happened, to do something about prosecuting them. You talk about selling most beers at mid-strength, but then if you're a proper craft beer place, surely you're going to have some of those great strong Belgian beers, and a couple of those, when people are drunk in a small area, you get the same problems. And Colette, I did notice, and you may want to comment on this, that there hasn't been much effort on your part to engage with the residents in this. And I do think it's an important thing to do in terms of understanding an area and wanting to come in to engage with the residents first. So by way of adding to what has already been said and the strong points made, I think this is a nice idea. It's an optimistic idea. It's done, I think, with the best of intentions. You know, you may have a sort of rather spicy name for your website, but the blogs on there are interesting. And I think you genuinely are passionate about the subject. I just don't think it's the right place for this, for all the reasons that people have said. It's a nice idea, but it's in the wrong place, and I don't think it would be as free of problems as it needs to be smack there at the beginning of a residential street. So on those grounds, I would ask that it be to the committee that they don't support the application.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I have Charlotte Brown to present her case, and I'm going to allow her 50 minutes because we have so many people that spoke. So allow her 50 minutes. And please, Charlotte, Colette Brown, are you there?
Yes, you can hear me okay.
Okay.
So thanks for the extended time. I was only expecting 5 minutes. Having said that, I'm just going to go to...
There's something wrong with the audio.
I cannot hear.
At all.
Sorry, is this any better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry everybody. Yes, so thank you very much for allowing me 15 minutes. I wasn't expecting that amount of time. So I was expecting 5 minutes. So I'll start with just saying I've read all of the representations received, and my agenda was to begin with was to go through those points to see where they fit within the relevant licensing conditions, and perfectly take on board that this is a tricky area, but just want to go through what I put in my agenda and where they fit within the points raised, where they fit within the relevant licensing conditions. So just, I know there's a real concern over an increase in antisocial behaviour. I truly believe that this would be a place that would attract people who just want to consume large amounts of alcohol at a cheap price. I know craft beer has been spoken about quite a lot. There's quite a lot of places that claim to be selling craft beer. There's obviously more larger commercial entities that sell it, and then there's still the smaller independent local ones that do. And that's what I would be focusing on, is stuff that you can't readily get. It's not readily available elsewhere. Yes, I am looking for somewhere that I'm focusing on a premium product, on providing a nice experience. And I do want to support local breweries, as by my blog. That is something I've been interested in for a long time. But it is important for it to be a place that is welcoming and doesn't encourage this. I think that the sale of low cost beer from off licenses are possibly the biggest problem. I do want a mix of on and off sales, slightly more towards on. The average price of a off sales beer is going to be around £6. Those kind of more special high percentage ones would be even more than that. On tap, which I'm not necessarily focusing on, would be something like £12–15 a pint. So that's not going to be appealing for people to come in and have copious amounts of. I do obviously want to have customers coming in, but it's anticipated that they wouldn't necessarily be staying for a very long period of time, given the capacity, given that I won't be selling hot food, and the pint is probably going to be cheaper from pubs around the corner. So I anticipate kind of groups coming in, having a taste, having a couple of beers and pairing. So the next point I wanted to address was the noise. So yes, it will, having done a seating plan recently, it would accommodate up to 25 people maximum. The average amount of customers that I think would be between 15 and 20 people at one time. The idea is not to have outside drinking. I think the space is too small. I think that would be the biggest cause of noise, and add to the current problems in the area. I will, I know we're talking planning and I know we're talking about licensing, but as part of the planning application, I do have to do a noise assessment. I will be carrying out noise assessments regularly at the property, at the nearest residential property, and just to make sure that you can't hear anything, but given the amount of people that are going to be there at one time, I'm not expecting there to be a lot of noise added to the area and causing more disturbance. Match days, which are obviously of a real concern. I won't be doing off sales 2 hours before matches. This does probably generally need some thought. I'm again not expecting large crowds. There isn't the capacity for it on site or outside. So I can see people, I'm sure that there's a large build-up of people in the area, but I imagine they would gravitate towards the larger pubs that would be selling, you know, cheap lagers before a match. If that does become an issue, I'll obviously have to think about security, and that's something I really wouldn't want it to come to, but that'd have to be how I'd address that and take that very seriously. The issue of rubbish, again, because there won't be food being served to be taken off the premises. I saw the pictures of rubbish spilling into the street, so I wouldn't be adding to that side of things with regards to food. Again, people taking cans off, drinking on the street at a high price point. I don't see that being an attractive proposition for them, but any rubbish would be disposed of in the provided bins that are associated with the commercial property, and within hours, as stated. As it's, the idea is that it would be mostly serving beer. The glass element of it would be maybe the wine. I haven't mentioned that the plan is to sell wine and sparkling wine as well. It's just that the focus is on the beer side, just because I felt like that's something that wasn't being offered as much in currently elsewhere. Child safety, obviously, we taken very seriously. Challenge 25, all staff would be trained on that. Underage drinking, I just don't see why someone would choose to even try and buy alcohol from there. It's £10 for 12 beers in a supermarket, you know, between £6 and £8 here. So yeah, I don't see the underage drinking being an issue there either. With regards to smoking, that hadn't come up. I don't think I mentioned that in my application. I hadn't actually considered it, honestly, but if based on the kind of statistics, it would be probably about 2 smokers an hour. There's only space outside of the front. There's nothing at the back. So I anticipate it to be with a couple of smokers an hour outside the front. And with regards to crime and disorder, I know it's generally the same things as above, with match days only selling alcohol in plastic glasses, but match days in general maybe just needs a bit more thought generally, in terms of whether I just open after matches, because this is, you know, obviously one of the biggest concerns that residents have. I have been to the area at night, not on a match day, and obviously seen it at its best, which made me think, you know, that it could be a good area for this. And in terms of CCTV, that's a police requirement. In terms of catching crime, that's sort of the kind of all I can do is just make sure that's captured and provide the CCTV to police when they request it. And I said before, don't anticipate large crowds, given the restriction on even the indoor capacity. I don't know if I already said that it would all be, I think I said that earlier, it would just be seated. So it's not going to be hundreds, even tens of people being able, standing around drinking, because there just isn't the space for it. With regards to not the sort of lack of interaction with residents, it's quite difficult process when you're trying to find a property. I guess you're up against the clock, trying to find somewhere. Pressure from landlord and everything. Of course, I want to speak to residents. I didn't get contact details of residents, just Charlotte Dexter, who's here today. But I absolutely would want to engage with everybody, and just to reassure people that this business is not to create more problems. It's generally something I wanted to add to the I believe didn't exist already, and would be a good place for it. That's me. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Charlotte Brown, Colette Brown. Please, can I have the committee members to ask questions to any party about application and issues that has been raised at this hearing? My committee members. Okay, thank you, Councillor Stanton. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to everybody who has spoken so far today. I do have a few questions, Chair. I'd probably ask a couple of them now, and then allow other members of the committee to speak, and then maybe come back, because I would imagine some of my questions will be repeated by other people, so I wouldn't want to waste anyone's time unduly. A question just to start off with to the applicant, Colette, if I may call you Colette. Could you please just give the committee a little bit of your background in the retail trade, please? Is this your first foray, or are you an old hand?
It is. I worked as an account manager for 14 years, and then when I decided, so up until 2019, when I decided to pursue this venture, I left my job to do so. Worked at various drinking establishments, not retail specifically, more on the pub brewery side of things. So that's where I've that's what my general background is.
Okay, thank you. So I will preface this with my questions are in no particular order. They're just kind of where I'm seeing on the page, and I've written down some questions. You said a number of times that you imagine that the number of people that would be present on the premises would not be sufficient to cause, problems. If you had, I don't know, let's say 23 people, and you're having a great evening, and a group of 6 people turned up, what would you do?
I mean, I genuinely, having mapped out the property and where things are, there literally wouldn't be room for them to be. Maybe a couple of people at the bar, but the seat is going to be quite close to each other, quite close to the door. So you couldn't. The idea is there'd be tables at the window as well. So it's literally. Like I said, I've sat down and drawn out a plan with the interior designer, just get an idea of where people could go, and it's just, I mean, it'd be there just wouldn't be the space for it. It'd be impossible to get over 30, I think, in there. I mean, 25, I think, is kind of an optimistic number.
I get that, but my question, if I could just push you on that, is if you had 23 people all sat down comfortably drinking, and 6 people turned up who had maybe had a couple of drinks already, and really wanted some craft beer, what would you do?
I'd have to send them away and apologise and I've asked them to come back another time when it's less busy.
Thank you. You've applied for an off license as well as an on license. Can you just give us an idea? Are you anticipating doing deliveries, or is it just going to be a takeaway offering?
It's a takeaway offering in the beginning. Yes.
In the beginning, are you looking long term to be selling by delivery?
It would be something that I would be considering in the future, maybe a year or so in.
And have you had any thoughts about how you might do that? I mean, would you be using your own drivers? Would you be using Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Just Eat, one of these large providers?
There's actually a company that I know that which is called Pack Fleet, who I think are quite a small company that are just up and coming, and I think they are on. I don't know an awful lot about them because I wasn't planning on doing this from the beginning, but I believe that would be by bike. But yes, it's not something I've looked into properly because it's not something I was planning on doing from the offset.
Okay, I mean, you'll understand from our point of view that if we grant you a license today, it will be, you know, a license for tomorrow, next year, and the year after as well. So whilst you may not have thought about it, we have to take into consideration any kind of business expansion that you might choose to undertake under the terms of the license. So I would imagine I may have some more questions on this. I'm fairly certain some of my other committee members might be asking you about that.
Sure.
I would say, Chair, I will have some more questions, but I'd just like to ruminate on the answers I've had before I come back to those. So if I could hand over to Councillor Alexander.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stanton. Thank you, Chair. If I were just really talk in a friendly way to Colette to start with, because I think you come across as a very sincere person, and you've tried to put together an application, but I think you've probably suddenly realised the number of residents who are objecting, and I don't think they're objecting to you. I think it's the particular location and the proximity of Fulham Broadway and that overspill. So it is a catch question, and I'm very sorry if it's a trick question. Right. Do you know how much a pint of craft beer would be in either? I better not name them, but the two pubs closest on North End Road.
I have been to the Woolpack. It was about.
They're not on the North End Road.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's on the. Okay. Sorry. Did you say specific?
Yeah, the two closest pubs on the North End Road.
On the North End Road. Okay. Is that the Cock? Maybe. I don't know the exact price there. Just from other locations. So I'd say probably about £7. On the North End Road.
So yeah, did you know the price of a craft beer in either of those pubs?
So I've been to I think it's, sorry, I've got the names wrong, by the way.
Yeah, don't worry.
I've been there, and it was around £7. The other pub, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's fair. So in a sense, you'd be the cheapest pub or the cheapest bar.
No, because some of the beers I'd be selling, the idea is there'd be kind of a mixture of maybe one or two beers that are more of a regular price point, and then a couple of others that are a bit more interesting, but they would be served in smaller measures by thirds. Say, for example, £4 or £5 for a third, which would then add up to about £15 a pint.
So probably if you've worked in bars, you know the term of what a pint of wife beater is and why it's called that, and the price point on that kind of beer. Will you be selling those kinds of beers?
I get the average percentage would be 5% although live meter I think is about 5.5. But if you're going higher, so if you're getting to the 6%, then that's when I would start selling those in lower quantities, but they would be, so like I was saying, about the third, so about 6% upwards. I'd be selling like a third at around the price of half a pint of regular beer, and so that then adds up.
Yeah. So I do know the area pretty well. Just very interesting. There is no right answer to it. Just what attracted you to want to start a business in Walham Grove in particular?
So I've been looking for quite a long time, since 2019, and I guess looking for somewhere that had a sort of like also some established business already around it. For example, the Harwood Arms and Vagabond wines, which I say, not trying to say I want a par on, but kind of want to kind of provide that level of service and kind of concentration on quality of product, as opposed to just kind of selling anything without any sort of consideration. I thought it's a nice parade of shops. I thought I know there's a residential side, but also because it's the other end of it where the shops are, I didn't think it would interfere too much with the
Okay, you're doing fine. Thank you very much. And just I would like to. Did you speak to the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham, the local council, at all about premises that might be available across the borough?
No, I found it because there was a sign up.
Okay,
that's how I found it.
So that was a trick question suggestion, but yeah. Thank you very much. If I could now ask some of the other people who've very kindly given up their time to come along. So I will ask you a bit more specific questions, and bear in mind that I think I've probably got more years on the clock in this area than anybody has so far admitted to. So I know certainly with on behalf of Catherine Delivery Vans, the hit and run delivery drivers, and I can't read my. I think it was Harry and I saw Dominique nodding her head along the way. Dominic, are you still here? No. Okay. So Harry, could you tell me more about the traffic issues? And bear in mind, I've had my car absolutely mutilated by several of these hit and run delivery bikes, so I don't need too much detail on that. But if you can just give me an idea of the problems that delivery bikes, if there was a delivery service, would cause to local residents, and that's not just in Walham Grove, but also the adjoining roads.
Okay, I think actually somebody nearer the premises, like Charlie McTaggart, has seen more of the congestion problems up there, and Baha has had more of the collisions things. But do you want me to go on?
No, it's okay. If I could go to Baha, because I think she'd spoken quite.
Hi.
Yes. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, there's quite a few of you if I'm mixing up my questions with residents.
No, that's fine. Did you want me to talk about some of the traffic issues?
Well, it's more about what you think the effect would be if there was a delivery establishment bringing more of these delivery motorcycles and some of the electric bikes as well that they use.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as it is, we've got an ongoing kind of issue at the moment with trying to turn Walham Grove into a one-way road. Now that appeal's been going on for some time and precedes my time on Walham Grove. But in the very short time that I've been here, one of my cars has been hit on 5 occasions and the other on 3 occasions now, and that's within a 12-month period.
And could I
so
just
what
ask,
tends to happen?
did you report this at all to the police and to your insurance company?
I didn't report them to the police, but I have been very vocal about them to Councillor Coleman in the other, sort of proceedings that we have going on about turning the road and appealing to have the road turned into a one-way street. The other residents are also aware. I didn't put insurance claims in. Just because they drive past and they don't stop. And part of it is to do with the fact that we get bottlenecks in the road. And so often cars are having to drive in reverse down the road or having to squeeze past each other and are basically hitting the cars and going. I've had already, the last incident, I had a quote for £12,000 on the rear of my car. And I've had previous incidents that have exceeded £20,000-30,000. I have one very expensive car and one smaller Mini. So as you can imagine, it's been really quite difficult. And I know that a lot of the issues are when delivery cars stop and they create a bottleneck, which basically means that, 2 cars can't pass each other on our road anyway. So all it takes is for one delivery van to then congest the top end of the road, and then it tails all the way back and just creates havoc. I've been verbally abused by trying to pull out of my own road and other cars that are parked not wanting to move. I've had family wanting to come in, and I've had to, like many other residents, basically direct traffic in order to get some cars to move back, in order to let other cars through. And this is just going to, unfortunately, and Colette probably may well not have been aware of some of all of this, but this is just going to be exacerbated by more cars at that end, because that's where it narrows and bottlenecks and causes a lot of the problems, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. And if I can ask, is it Rosie Meyer?
Hi.
Hi, Rosie. I have a few questions. Just we spoke about planning earlier on, and as you can hear, I think Adrian Overton from the licensing authority was kind of explaining the difficulties, how the two interleave. And of course, in an ideal world, we would like them completely aligned, but sometimes it's not possible, and that wouldn't. And that's one of the reasons that it's not a hard and fast, that it must be planning. Or if I've understood our council officer correctly, are you able to follow that argument, or are you still minded to say something different?
No, I actually follow that argument, and actually the points I was going to bring up were very eloquently covered by the McTaggarts. So yes, but more kind of to follow on from the point around traffic issues or that problems created by delivery drivers, that I actually live closer to the property you're interested in, Colette. And actually, we have had instances where delivery bikes, as we know, in front of that property, there are a good number of bikes. And when they can't get in and out, they actually have been down the pavement, which actually is cause for concern because they don't really give to who. So would that be the case, then it would be kind of a massive issue. So yeah, but it's real hotspot in many ways. And, unfortunately, good idea, wrong place.
Okay, Rosie, thank you very much for making a contribution. And I've also got, I think Councillor Coleman spoke on behalf of Lucilla, was it? But was there something that wasn't covered by Councillor Coleman?
Are you asking me or are you asking someone else?
Lucilla.
Can I just say something very quickly, because I'm sorry I came late and Councillor Coleman did cover the points. Colette, hi, very nice to meet you at last, because we've all been wondering who you are. And if anything, I just want to say I'm actually more concerned for you than I am for us. I think this business is not going to work. I don't think you've done your homework properly. You weren't really able to answer, sorry, it was one of the, yes, it was Paul Alexander's questions very well. And I've also considered, if you're not doing very well in this business, are you really going to want to turn people away? And who's going to do the turning away? Are you personally going to turn people away, or are you going to employ staff to do
Can I remind you are not going to ask, you are not going to ask
well, may I just
sorry, Lisa, you can't ask anybody else a question. It's only it's only the councillors who can ask.
I understand. I'm so sorry. I take your point.
So anyway, I've got a good gist of what you.
Very difficult. Very difficult. My daughter does it as a job.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for explaining that. And I think there was Adar started to explain something about planning, but I think that got missed off. Was that I think that was covered by the by the officer, or was there something that you wanted specifically to draw to the licensing committee's attention? Adair?
Have you finished?
Adair? Sorry, I don't think he's he's not able to respond. So if I could just come to Charlie McTaggart, which people have sort of just pointed a finger at you. And so I hope you'll understand that we do have a problem, and that it is a bit of a balancing act, so that to allow any kind of development that one has got to go before the other. But if you can see that there's a specific point, particularly as a local resident rather than as a as a dot and comma quote of the council policy, I'd like that explained to me, please. Your microphone's not on.
You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I thank you for letting me respond to you. I just generally think that, like, we had a match day last week, I think, and I saw these three guys doing Class A drugs right in front of my front door, and I was absolutely shocked. I have CCTV camera, and I was, I wasn't going to go out and talk to the three guys and say, hey guys, please don't. They were big guys, and I'm quite a big guy, and I was just absolutely gobsmacked. I came in and I said to my family, watch out when you go outside. And they didn't hang around much, and they went down the street. But if there was another place that they could go, they would go and have a little drink after whatever they were doing. And I was absolutely shocked. So I think this area is you've got to push people away from a very pleasant community. We have a great community here that we all really love, and that's part of it.
Thank you very much, Charlie. And those, I must sympathise with you when you tell me what happened outside your front door. But I trust you'll accept that I don't think Colette Brown is the applicant is going to do anything to do that. And if she were granted a licence, do you think she's the sort of person you could approach and work with to deal with drug dealing?
I just think the bottom line is that the applicant hasn't got much experience in dealing with public in a tap room. I just don't think there's enough experience. And when I asked her questions about, there's not enough experience in that.
So Charlie, thank you very much for your assistance with that one. And I'll see if Councillor Stanton wants to ask some questions. That's all my questions for now, Chair, but I would like to follow up with a couple of other questions.
Okay, can I ask one thing? Charlotte, how many staff would you like to have? How many staff are you thinking of employing in this place, Charlotte?
So the idea is that there would be another person there on the days I was open. So it would be rotating part-time staff, so it'd be at least me and another person.
Wow. So with you and another person, so how will you be able to manage when you have more customers coming in that you are not able to control? So what would you do?
So I think that the amount of people that I could have on the premises is what is manageable. I've seen people working 2 or 3 people behind a bar in places where there are hundreds of people. So I think myself and another member of staff with around 20 people would work okay.
Okay. Because you said it's a small place and you haven't got a garden, and in a summertime, in a really summer, how do you envision the place to be when it's hot? Will people be inside or will they be outside? What do you intend to do?
So yes, the idea is not that people will be drinking outside. I'm not going to have a designated area for drinking outside. There will be air conditioning on the premises for hot days, because I won't be have windows that open either. So even though that could be detriment, I don't know, to the business, the idea is that all customers would be drinking on site.
Yeah, and that's what I want. The other issue is that you haven't been you mentioned that you have never attended the match day in this place you want to open up, to see how busy the place is. So why was that? Any reason you haven't visited the place on a match day? Yeah.
No, I know this does sound ignorant in terms of how much I thought that the football affected that specific area, which I'm now aware of. That was after I'd applied for the license.
Yeah. And residents mentioned that you haven't been able to get in touch with them.
Yeah.
How do you, this is a community you're going to trade in, and you need to, have dialogue with them to see what they think. And, so why haven't you done that? Any reason? No.
Not at all. No, it's absolutely not something that I avoided. I think just with the list of names that I was given, I didn't have ways to contact them. If I missed something, I apologise, but I only had Charlotte's contact details. So that's the only reason why. It's not because I want to avoid anyone. It's quite the opposite. I would want to engage with people, and it would actually maybe have made things a bit easier if I could have contacted people before, or been able to just explain the business a little bit more at the time of applying or when I put up my notice. Because also that the piece of blue paper doesn't allow you much of a description either. But it's very important to speak.
One more thing, the place said 5.5, and you are saying that your alcohol is going to be 7%. So could you explain that to me? I don't understand it because I don't drink alcohol. I don't know what it means.
So the idea, is with the on and the with the on and off sales, the idea is that the sorry, can you hear me? It's just a horrible crackling. Sorry,
can anybody hear her?
Horrible crackling sound.
I think there's some feedback from someone, Chair. It sounds like.
Okay.
Chair, you are mute.
Okay, carry on now. We can hear you.
So look, craft beers, not all of them. Some of them are around 6% and over. I know that the majority of them used to be that. So now that you get beer from no alcohol up to 10%, that's not what I'm going to be selling on tap. But with the police, just to clarify, they've said that you can't sell beers on and off sales at above 5% unless they classify as a craft beer. They've basically, that's the definition, the way they've decided it, without me sort of having to say anything. They just, because they
understood the nature of what I was trying to do. Craft beer is generally, or premium beer is generally beer that's made by an independent brewery. It's made in smaller batches. It's not kind of mass-produced beer. So it was an essential thing for the business to work, to be able to sell beers over 5.5%, because craft beers do have beers that go into that category. But the idea is that they will mainly be for off sales, and the beers that would be sold on tap would be 6% and under. Occasionally, as a kind of special tasting kind of event or something, I might have a couple of beers that are a bit stronger, but they would be sold in much smaller measures than you would get in a traditional pub, which is usually pint. I mentioned, oh, can't hear. Sorry, I can't.
So I'm saying, sorry, the police are 5.5, and you're going to be having 6 points or something. So that means you are not following the recommendation that has been given to you. So
no, the police, when I met with them, they said I could sell anything over 5.5% if it was a premium or craft beer, and all the beers that I would be selling are classified as craft beers. So I'm definitely not trying to break any rules. That's how they explained it to me, and how it's written in the conditions.
Okay. The other thing is, if you have patrons, so have you got some? What do you have for some patrons that will be coming up on any day to be in the in this vicinity to drink? Do you, like the wine, the people that produce those wines, are they going to be coming to have a drink in that vicinity? The patrons.
So okay, so as in the people who are making and supplying, in the capacity of having events where people can meet people that produce drinks, beers and wines, in a kind of tasting event type scenario. So it would be in that capacity, if I've understood your question properly, sorry.
Yeah, but suppose there are more than 25 or 20 people as in that premises. So how are you going to? I know my colleagues has asked this question, but these are, the main producers and their patrons. So you cannot tell them to leave. You cannot tell them they can't come. So how do you deal with them if there are more than the number that can sit?
I mean, I think that kind of thing is usually that they tend to be, they're probably not going to be based in London. So I think it'd probably be a case of we're coming down on this particular day or something. And then maybe I'd have to have some, also maybe think about a booking system as well.
Okay. I haven't got any more questions for Colette. Any committee member have more questions?
Nothing from me, Chair.
Chair, can I just clarify the condition that you was asking about, because it reads beer, lager, cider and stout above 5.5% ABV shall not be displayed or sold with the exception of premium and craft beers. And we've got another premises within the borough which has a very similar condition, and when they're talking about craft beer, they're allowed to sell craft beer if it's specialised products. So they're basically on another license. The condition is designed to restrict the cheaper, higher strength beers, the ciders that attract street drinkers and lead to alcohol-related and antisocial behaviour. So she would be at the premises, if the license was granted with this condition, would be able to sell the craft beer over 5.5%, because that is the condition, is with the exception of craft beers. It's more for the higher percentage, like low cost alcohol that wouldn't be allowed to be displayed. It's a premium. So I just wanted to clarify how that condition reads.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Paul, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a couple of questions, and if I could perhaps, mindful of the amount of time, it's probably better if I'll ask Councillor Coleman.
So, Chair, sorry, Councillor Alexander, your microphone is doing that thing it does sometimes.
Has that improved?
That's better.
Yeah, it's. I think it's my mobile phone. Anyway, I do apologise for that. Councillor Coleman, would you be able to help with a sort of summary of all the different things residents have said? Because I've got several pages of notes, and I'm struggling a little bit to put it together. Could you give us a sort of an overview of how you see this and how you see the application?
Sure. Yes, thank you. Well, I think the residents have made the point that it's inappropriate for a conservation area where many families with young children live. I made other points about the pubs in the end. Let me reframe this. The residents have made lots of points, which I think are very strong, about any sort of drinking establishment. The point that I come over to me from the applicant, from Colette, is that she thinks it's going to be different. And I think what's come out in the questions, if I may, Councillor Alexander, is that given she hasn't got a lot of experience of business or of this area, and I think from what the residents say, there's a certain amount of, and I heard people say, there's a certain amount of concern about her business experience and about some of the things she hopes won't happen actually not happening. And the thing she hopes, so the residents are worried that, as I say, it's a conservation area, children live there, there are a pub and 3 more in the vicinity, they sell craft beers already, but there can be problems with those. Lack of outdoor space here means drinkers would congregate outside. The issue of smoking hasn't even been considered. They would equally congregate outside. In both cases, there's noise and disturbance to neighbours. The fact that there would be more cars and pollution attracted to this street, and the applicant hasn't tried to engage with local residents. I mean, there are lots of other strong points made. My feeling from listening to everything that's been said is that this is an optimistic application which doesn't necessarily look at the reality of the street that it's in, or of the challenges that a business like this needs to deal with. And I think, I mean, it's not for me to say whether it would make any money or not, but I think it could create a lot of problems, as discussed. And I'm not sure that the applicant has sufficient experience to mitigate those. And that's so Councillor Alexander, that's more than what you asked me to do, but I thought I'd share my feelings from the discussion that's taken place as well, and I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Councillor. That's been very helpful. Chair, I have no further questions.
Councillor Dominic, do you have more questions? No.
No, nothing from me, Chair.
Okay, nothing. Okay, thank you. Now, we're going to go into summing up. And I think I'll do it this way. Anybody that put their hands up, I put their name down because it was modeled up with so many things. So can I ask, can I start with Charlotte? Are you going to be speaking on behalf of anyone, or are you going to sum up on your own?
Yeah, I'm just going to sum up by saying,
hang on, are you speaking on behalf of only for yourself?
Yes, only for myself, and Rosie will speak for herself. Thank you for asking that question.
You're allowed 3 minutes. Okay.
Okay, I would just like to point out one further thing that the applicant said that I believe the subcommittee has noted. She mentioned at some point when the question was asked about 6 people coming in, she doesn't have enough chairs and so on, what would she do? And she said something like, I believe, there might be a bit of space at the bar. So there's no bar, as in a bar, or, you know, with 5 seats or something on the plan. And I would like to point that out. There's no bar on the, I don't believe there was a bar in the plan. So again, the plan would have to be changed. And the second and final point is that regarding deliveries, we've learned with hard experience that if conditions are not put on a license now about deliveries, even though you're not planning on the deliveries right now, it's very difficult to get strict or useful conditions onto an existing license because they're put on by what's called minor variations instead of major variations. Major variations can go to a hearing, minor variations don't. And we've had problems in the Fulham Broadway area, just around the corner from Walham Grove, trying to get stricter delivery conditions onto a license once the license is there. So this hasn't, in my opinion, it hasn't been addressed properly, and she doesn't have plans, but she might have plans. And this sort of raises the bar of confusion. And I would have had a lot of things, and I would have made points about conditions in writing if it was clear that she was going to really go into delivery. We did talk about delivery zooming around and so on. We assumed delivery. Now she's told us no delivery. So again, if you are minded to grant this license, we are asking for big conditions on delivery, timings, not after 9:30, things like that, please, because this hasn't been addressed yet.
Charlotte,
Okay,
I have to stop you. Thank you.
yes, okay, well, that's fine, but it wasn't addressed, so it's important that I address it now.
Thank you.
Barry.
Thank you. Before then, please, I forgot, Lorna, the licensing officer, please, could you sum up? Lorna?
Nothing further to add, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I ask Amanda?
Yes, thank you very much. I think Colette's got a lovely dream, but I think tonight, for me, it's raised more concerns than actually answering sort of questions. Really, you weren't aware of Chelsea, you haven't been here for a match, you've got no plans for smokers, you're now talking about wine, you're talking about seating at the bar that Charlotte's just mentioned, perhaps considering takeaways. These are big questions because, as Charlotte has just pointed out, if you were to be granted a license, there need to be further conditions taken into consideration. All in all, I'm very, very worried about it.
Thank you very much. May I have Ada? Ada? Okay, Graham, 3 minutes. You want to sum up?
I would just like to say, reiterate some of the other points about the smoking. When people go out for cigarettes, they rarely go on their own. They normally go out with their friends so they can talk and smoke. And if a license is granted and Colette's business fails, this is running a business is difficult, and it's a tiny venue. I'm not sure how much revenue it's going to generate. And if this like business fails, the license will be passed on. And as Ben Coleman was saying, it happened near him, the license was taken on by someone else, and that person may not have the best interests at heart like Colette does, but Colette has her best interests at heart. But if her business fails and someone else takes over, they may not be as conscientious as Colette appears to be. And I would still just like to reiterate the no one's mentioned so far, the safety of women, our young girls on the street. It's a big issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Reese, you have 3 minutes to sum up. Is she there?
Sorry, who was that?
It's Rosie.
Rosie.
Yeah.
Okay, Rosie.
Hi.
Okay.
I'm here. Hi. I just want to make the point. Sorry, I don't know where my video has disappeared. That bearing in mind we are such a kind of sorry. Got it. Oh, never mind. Can you hear me? Bearing in mind that we are such a kind of tight-knit community around here, and that the impact of a business like this could have on this community. The fact that unfortunately the applicant didn't manage to reach out to this kind of community. We do want to support businesses coming up around it if they're the right ones. But you know, for all the worries and the kind of sense of the naivety of going into a premise like this is just extremely worrying. So we just hope that the right decision and outcome will be made. Thank you for.
Thank you very much. Can I have Charlie? Charlie or Catherine?
Yeah, no, I'm here. Hello. Just again, just the whole just the unthought out planning of the operation is just mind-boggling, really, especially when, you know, we are a community and we would address, you know, anyone coming to speak to us about their issues and what they want to do. I really believe that the parade of shops needs to be a mixed use. It does not need to be takeaway, a bar, tap room. It needs to be more, you know, on the other side of that, we have, you know, a chiropractor and a nail bar. You know, it would tip the balance away from a community for the street, really, rather than people coming in from outside. And I think that's the other thing. The other point I wanted to say is it takes a lot of money. I mean, the rental value to pay the local is 14,500 on the sales detail, 26,000 pounds for the rent. That's 40K already. Then you've got your fixed cost, your stock, and fitting out. You know, experience listening to the applicant, it doesn't sound like it's going to last. Maybe it might, and I hope it does. She finds a success, but I really find that is part of it. You know, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have I got Catherine?
Yes, I'm here as well, and just wanted to say that, you know, obviously we've covered so many points already, but I just want to say that, you know, I think that granting a license and alcohol is a very serious business, and turning away people who may come, you know, they may insist on having a drink. It's very difficult to stop people from going outside. You know, not people who want to go outside on the pavement aren't just smokers. They're people who may think, oh, it's hot inside, or it's, you know, it's nice weather outside, I want to go out. That piece of pavement is already very congested. We've already got so many delivery trucks and mopeds in that area. So I just don't think that this is a suitable location to grant a license. And it's a residential street, you know, so there are so many other places which would be more suitable, I feel. And, you know, just having one or two employees and dealing with drunk people, I think could be quite dangerous. So that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I have Harry? Harry?
Okay. Yes. Global warming. I mean, think how hot it was last summer. And if we grant this license, we're going to have other hot summers. I'm sorry, there is no way you're going to keep people inside if they've come to have a beer. It's just not going to happen. Second point, the council's regeneration down North End Road has created a narrowing at the top of Walham Grove. By the way, Councillor Ben, well done with North End Road. I think that's terrific. It's looking lovely in spring, but that creates another bottleneck there for transport and people coming. I still believe people are going to buy things from the off license, sit in their cars or walk along and then drop them. And lastly, I would remind the committee, please, about Policy 4, which is in italics at the bottom then, to ensure residents are protected from the negative impact of late-night local licensing activities. The authority may decide to adopt an area-specific cumulative impact policy in relation. So we've got to look, it says, at the density, the number, and the existing impact of licensed premises. And the fact that she may not do late night off license, I'm not convinced. I think people will still buy a bottle or something and take it away and drink it in their cars. And I think we're going to have parties on the street at the end there, mark my words. And that's trouble for us and trouble for the council and trouble for the police. So Colette, I love craft beer, but I just don't think this is the place for it.
Okay, thank you. Can I have Leo? Leo?
Leo had to go, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay, thank you. Can I have Lucia? Is she there?
Yeah, yes, I am. Just I don't see how making money and turning people away equals a business. And I don't think, Colette, I'm concerned for you that you're going to be able to turn people away. It's a very unpleasant thing to have to do, and people can be extremely nasty, aggressive and violent, especially if they've had a bit to drink already. So that's my main concern. That's all I really want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Lionel, are you there?
Lionel could make it. He gave his time to Ben Coleman earlier.
Okay. All right. Can I have Ada? Ada?
Ada left and couldn't get readmitted, so he's watching on the YouTube.
Oh, okay. Can I have Jenny Ska? Jenny?
Hi. I echo the sentiments of others and have no more to add. So also happy to give my time to anyone else who would like it.
Okay.
It does back in, if that's okay. Can he have time?
Okay, Rosie, you want to speak? Go on, Rosie.
I've spoken, but Adol's just been readmitted, so perhaps he can have his 2 minutes now.
Okay. She can.
Chair, maybe the next one first, before Ada can connect the audio.
Okay, then. Who else have we got there now? Okay. Baha, yeah.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I mean, I think none of us wish Colette ill, but unfortunately, like many of us, I just feel it's a really ill-conceived idea. I have huge concerns about drinkers spilling out onto the pavement, and I just, you know, my concerns have actually worsened throughout the course of this this meeting, because I just don't see how you can police people in that way. You know, I've seen bars where staff are trying to drag people back in, where licensing hours have run out, and you know, people are still causing trouble and drinking. And I just think it's going to be incredibly difficult for you. You know, we've got lots of very successful business people that are residents on the road, and unfortunately the numbers in terms of you making a success out of this just don't stack up. And you know, also as a parent, like many other parents on the street, as Graham was saying, I have huge concerns about my daughter coming and going from school, and I echo a lot of what the other residents have said. I just think, you know, nice idea, totally wrong location.
Okay. Okay. Who else? No, I haven't spoken. Can I have okay, Baha, yeah?
Ada.
Hi, I was just reconnected because my internet disconnected earlier. Yeah, I agree with everything that's said, especially with what Baha said. So I don't think I have anything to add at this point.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And then I think everyone has spoken except Councillor Ben Coleman, who is be speaking on behalf of Lucia.
I think I pretty much said it, Chair. I think it's I think everyone said it. It's a nice idea. I don't think it's been sufficiently thought through. It's wrong for the area, and particularly given the fact that it's not sufficiently thought through. That's all. I think it would detract from the area without a lot more thinking and a lot more planning. And even then, I think it will be a challenge, which we need to come back and review on a separate occasion.
Okay. That case, can we have the applicants to speak? And I'll give you 35 minutes. The applicant. Is she there?
Hi, yes, hi, sorry about that. So I understand the concerns with regards to experience. I did mention earlier, I have worked in bars and tap rooms before. I have had to deal with difficult people before and removing them from premises, and it's not pleasant, but it's part of the job. And I feel like it's something that anyone who runs a drinking establishment comes up against at some point. With regards to the business as a whole, I think it would face the same challenges that anywhere else that serves alcohol would do. I don't think it's definitely the intention is not for it to be worse. I think the small capacity would put people off coming in. Like I said, it will just be seated. There won't be any room for standing, and because I don't want people to spill out onto the street. I know I've got that's why I'm going to have it indoors and air conditioned, because I don't want to add to that. I think obviously the biggest challenge with this area is the football, are the football matches. I would need to think. I'm obviously going to follow the conditions in the license for that. And I don't want to add to the existing problems. As I said, I have to think about sort of the hours on match days, whether maybe not to do off sales at all on those days. And the view, just follow what I've agreed with the conditions, and then if there's any trouble, just to review that with the police. The police and the council were encouraging when I made my application, and I completely, respect how people feel about the area. Would just want to add to it. I know there's a lot of craft beer establishments, but wanted to provide something that was a bit more intimate, a bit more personal, and for the locals to go to, which is still, I know it's any area would have similar challenges as well. I don't think there's perfect location in London. I think I'd have the same case issue where I live in Wandsworth, but I've seen similar businesses open, and they've done well. They've attracted really pleasant crowds, because I do think that it creates, trying to create an atmosphere that doesn't sort of exist elsewhere. But when it comes down to the license, which would hopefully be granted, I've agreed to all of the conditions. I just want business to operate as smoothly as it possibly could, and the intention is not at all to create any additional problems.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. And the committee will now retire to take a decision in a separate room. An adjournment tile will display during deliberation. You are welcome to remain at the meeting to hear committee's decision. However, this might take some time. If you don't want to wait, a summary decision will be published on council's website tomorrow morning. Can I ask members to turn off their video and mute their microphone and join me in a private meeting in Teams? Thank you.
Before Mercy's going, I think I'm going to say thank you all very much. Can I unmute? Right, can you all hear me? Yeah. Just thank you all very much. Let's see. I hope the outcome will be okay. I'm not going to actually stay for the final decision, because I don't think my presence or indeed any of ours will make a difference. But if anyone wants to send me an email to let me know, Colette, it's been very good to meet you. And thank you all very much to the residents for your time, and I'll see you all soon on other matters that we touched on this evening.
Thank you, Ben Coleman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you
very much.
Do we stay on this link? I didn't catch that last part. We stay on, or we can stay on?
Yeah, you can stay on. She asked us to mute and something's happened. Very funny. Mute and turn our cameras off.
Lovely. Thank you.
Debbie, I think the chair's waiting to get into the meeting.
Chair submitted. Thank you.
Is everybody in? Hello? Hello?
Our residents are here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. The summary decision of License Subcommittee, 2nd May 2023. Swimming Peak 61 Fulham Grove, London Southwest 6, 1QR, the premises. The committee have considered an application for the grant of premises license under the License Act 2003 for the sale of alcohol both on and off the premises. The application, in summary, the committee have decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, to reject the application. A copy of this committee's full decision, including its reason, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If any party is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to the magistrate court within 21 days from the date of notification of the decision. I would like to thank everyone for attending or watching tonight's meeting. A summary decision will be published on our website tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.